We're back with another pasta dish, and not just any dish. We're talking about a dish with delicious pancetta and plenty of cheese. A few ingredients, a small amount of time to cook, and enough to feed 5 or 6 people. That's exactly the dish we strive for when prepping for a session. Pasta alla Gricia is like carbonara without the cheese, or like cacio e pepe with additional pork. In fact, all 3 of these pastas are related, so if you can make one, chances are you can make the others with very little change and very little difficulty. For this dish, I'm pairing it with some garlic bread, because pasta and garlic bread go together like peas and carrots. As I mentioned, there aren't many ingredients for this dish. For the sauce, we're going to need some black peppercorns. I went with about 8 grams, but if you like more pepper, go for more, or if you're a little sensitive, go for less. We're going to toast our peppercorns, but that just adds a little more intensity to the flavor and is totally optional. We also need pancetta. The traditional recipe calls for guanciale, which is a pork that comes from the cheekbone, but is a bit tougher to get. Obviously, if you can get it, go for it, but pancetta has a good amount of flavor, salt, and fat, which serves as a great substitute. Finally, we need cheese. I'm going with a blend of Pecorino Romano, which is about 6 ounces, and 2 ounces of Parmigiano Reggiano. Parma is a little saltier and has a bit more of a bite to it, which I think adds to the sauce, but it is also a bit more expensive. So if you're looking to keep the cost down, feel free to stick with the Pecorino. Finally, 20 ounces of rigatoni should suffice for 5 or 6 people. Penne would also work, or even spaghetti. To me though, rigatoni is easier to manage when it comes to plating this, which I'll explain later on. Our garlic bread is simple, a blend of garlic, butter, and parsley, and can be prepped in advance, which we'll do first. Soften the butter either in a microwave or leave it out for a bit. All we need to do is mince or shave our garlic. I'm using a microplane to get the garlic flavor into the butter without leaving big chunks. This is one of those personal preferences. I feel the bread tastes better when you can get the garlic as small as possible without biting into a big chunk. That being said, you can mince it or put it in a presser as well. You do you, Bill. Once you're done with the garlic, stir it in and add the parsley, and then spread the butter on the 8 to 10 pieces of Italian bread. Turn your oven to 400 and let it preheat. With the bread done, it's time to cook our pancetta. In terms of burner settings, you don't want to go over a 2 or 3 to let this pancetta cook slowly. Just enough to get it to start sweating off fat. So just let it go. At this point, go ahead and fill a large pot of water and get it ready to boil. If you want to be fancy like me, you can drop your whole peppercorns on low to medium heat for about a minute or 2. You'll know the peppercorns are ready when you can start to smell them, but shouldn't need more than a couple of minutes. Once that's done, pop them into the mortar and pestle, or if you don't want to have those, a blender will work, or heck, gather them up on a towel and smash them like a caveman. It's your call. At this point, our pancetta should start accumulating more and more fat. Just keep stirring it around. We're waiting for it to brown a little bit. Once your oven is ready, go ahead and put your bread in and set a timer for about 10 minutes. Once your pancetta has begun to brown, you can go ahead and take them out and put them on the side. We're going to add them onto the dishes after we're done with everything. At this point, you can leave the pan on the stove, but turn off the burner to let things cool down a bit. The trick with these types of sauces is to let the cheese melt into a smooth, silky sauce. If the pan is too hot, the proteins and fats begin to separate, and it turns into a big, lumpy, clumpy mess, which we definitely don't want. Don't forget to stir your pasta. We want it al dente, so let's just make sure it's not overcooked. As we get ready to begin our sauce, it's important to get that 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and mix it with a tablespoon of cold water. We're going to leave it to the side as we're going to be using it very soon. Now, concentrating on the sauce, we want to mix a ladle full of pasta water and pour it into the pan. The starchy pasta water is going to start mixing with the fat. Add a little bit of pepper and just start mixing it around a bit. Go ahead and add that cornstarch mixture that we just made, and you'll begin to see the sauce thicken immediately. That's okay if it's too thick, as we're going to begin to add more pasta water ladle by ladle, all in all about 1.5 cups. Because I was serving 5 people for our session, I didn't want to risk throwing all the pasta into the pan at once, as that would add too much heat and be a mess to mix. So if you're like me and you're trying to make this for a bunch of people, do it in batches. This means you're going to add a little water and a little cheese as you go, but don't feel the need to rush. Once your pasta is cooked, you can empty out a majority of the pasta water and let it sit in the pot, but just make sure you put some of that starchy water on the side for the sauce. In the end, all the cheese and fat will be used, so just do it little by little. Once you start getting to the point where your sauce is silky enough for a couple servings of pasta, go ahead and start adding it in. You'll see here some of my cheese looks like it's clumped up, but that's actually the cheese sticking together because of its moisture. I'm doing my best to just mash it down, and in the end, the water we add will take care of the rest. Now that I've added the first dish or 2 of pasta, I just want to get things coated a bit. Once this first helping of pasta is coated, I'll add a little bit more pepper and a little bit more cheese if it needs it. At this point in the game, we're just going by look and feel. Is the sauce covering the pasta? Is it thick enough that it's sticking to it? Great. Put some on a couple of plates and then add more pasta and keep at it. If not, just add a little bit more cheese to make things thicker. If it's too thick, add a little bit of pasta water, but a little goes a long way, so just go easy. Once everyone has been plated, go through and start adding the pancetta right on top. If you still have a little oil left, add just a dab to the final plate. Gives the overall flavor an extra bite of saltiness. And bang, there you have it. Pasta alla Gricia, the perfect blend of carbs and saltiness and starchiness and everything you could probably want out of a pasta dish. It's easy to make, it doesn't take more than 30 minutes, it's not super expensive, and it's going to fill up your group. They were extremely happy with this one. Anytime you serve a new dish to a group they've never had before and they keep talking about it during the session, that hits home. That's what we want to hear. So again, as always, if you get a chance to make this, let us know how it turned out. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.